And we're live! Hello citizens and welcome back to the Comm Relay. So today is episode 22 and we are going to be talking about Star Citizen conspiracy theories. And I gathered a couple from people I talked to over the last 2 weeks. I also looked up online and I also have a few of my own. And most importantly, I asked ChatGPT and I asked Google Gemini. And I got some very interesting results, and on a couple of things that especially ChatGPT gave me, I actually had to go and do follow-up research because I was like, no way. There was no way someone said this at any point. But turns out, actually, yes. Well, there was one specific one where I was like, no, there was no way someone actually said this. Hello and good evening, Pacey. How are you doing? So, couple housekeeping notes before we start. Number one, the feedback form is still up, so that's going to be linked in the description, so you can tell me how I'm doing as with my content, and what would you like to see on the channel. We have a lot of responses, and I'm already implementing a couple things. Number two, last chance to enter the screenshot contest to win the Heartseeker provided by CAG is going to be today, tomorrow, and exactly today and tomorrow. Thank you, Horizon. So that's going to be your last chance to submit. Lots of people have submitted. I actually got way more submissions than I thought, which is a good thing. I'm like very pleasantly surprised. There was I think 40-ish people who have entered, which is not bad for my first ever screenshot contest. So I hope CIG will allow me to do this again sometime in the future. And number three, lots of you requested that I start doing Q&A videos about Star Citizen. So I have put together a form where you can submit your questions for the Q&A. It's going to be, as with everything else, it's going to be linked in the description of the video, or the podcast, or wherever you're watching this or listening to this. And yeah, I'm going to make a video where I'm going to answer those questions. I haven't quite decided on the specific format. I think it's going to be a recorded video where I sort of make it more curated, and I'm just going to put some footage over it. Maybe I'm going to do gameplay footage instead of cinematic stuff, so there's a different theme going on. Yeah. And finally, final housekeeping note, we have a new logo, or the channel has a new logo, or I have a new logo. I haven't quite figured out if I consider myself to be the Space Coder as entity, or if the Space Coder is just the brand. But that's more of an internal monologue that I need to have. But we have a new logo. I hope everybody likes it. It was provided to us by the great and talented Lens Nation, who actually did the new Armory logo and the Hauler logo, and now the channel logo as well. And he actually also did the Comm Relay logo. So, and the overlay I have around me, and also that animation right there with the Comm Relay thingy. That's all him. Yeah, I think that was all of my housekeeping notes. Yeah, I think so. I had a pretty busy weekend, so I did not take notes for the stream, but I did a ton of 3D printing this weekend. Hence why I couldn't use my office, because some of you may know I got myself a resin 3D printer for Christmas, and it smells. Like when you're printing from resin, it smells. It smells like burning plastic, but it's amazing. So you can't really be in the room with it. I mean, I guess you could, but it's not advised. It literally says on the bottle, do not breathe this in, like the fumes, because they smell and also might make you sick. So yeah, I was confined to my living room, but that got me working on some other stuff that I needed to get done, and I 3D printed a bunch of very cool stuff, and you will, I don't know, maybe we will see some of it at some point. I haven't decided if I'm gonna show you guys the big project for this summer. Anyway, yeah, with all of that being said, I think I said everything. With all of that being said, let's get into the conspiracy theories. And I'm gonna start, and here's kind of a caveat. Lots of conspiracy theories that people have about Star Citizen can be explained, in my opinion, at least, or I think I can explain them. So I'm gonna try to do that. So number one is PTU performs better because CIG put better servers in the PTU. Cool. I thought this at one point in the past, but false. Why is it false? So the PTU, or let's start from the beginning. So Star Citizen, all of Star Citizen services and servers run on AWS, Amazon Web Services. In case you guys didn't know, Amazon is like the largest web hosting or server hosting provider in the world, because I guess being the biggest online store wasn't enough for them. So they have servers all over the place, and they, dare I say, they are fairly affordable on like low level stuff, and also and on enterprise level stuff. If you're like in the somewhere in between, you can probably find cheaper providers. But if you're like very small and you need like a scalable service, AWS is a good choice. But actually, that's a good segue into that's actually an excellent segue. So the Armory has been partnered with Virotech, which is a web hosting company based in the US, and they have been providing me with servers for the Armory for free for like almost 3 years now. And those guys are great. I have spoken with both of the owners. They're very helpful, and I have never had any issues with uptime for the Armory. I think we're pretty much 99% uptime on the Armory, and the 1% when we were down is because I broke something. And that yeah. So yeah, if you need small scale or large scale, any scale hosting, just link in the description. They're great. Love them. So that's my, and it's not even like a paid segment. I just like using their servers because they're so good. Anyway, so why do we? Right, so AWS. So every Star Citizen service runs on AWS, and the PU and PTU servers are the same AWS as, they're the same. PU and PTU, same thing. At least from a virtual machine server AWS perspective. So why does in some instances PTU perform better, and why does in some instances PTU not crash in instances where PU would have crashed? Well, two explanations for that one. Number one, PTU usually has fixes for things. So some things might not be broken, and it has performance improvements. So some things might perform better. And I'm sorry, I'm out of breath. Yeah. Anyway, and two, which is in my opinion more important, is that PTU code usually has a lot of diagnostics enabled in it. So in some places where sort of the production code would crash and throw an exception, PTU just kind of logs it and moves on, which is great for sort of a testing code where you log out the stack trace and everything. For production, not great. So that's why PTU is sometimes better. Also, in my opinion, and that's opinion, I don't really have any numbers to back it up. I think PTU gets way less traffic, and that sort of kind of improves performance. I mean, anytime I log into the PTU, it's usually like, I don't know, maybe 50 people max on a server. Then again, I do play in sort of an awkward time. So it's like I usually play before the US folks get on. So I don't think I've ever seen more than 100 people on one server in the PTU, and that's like high frequency patches. And I'm not counting Evocati into this because Evocati servers are weird. Anyway, so moving on to the number two that is my personal conspiracy theory, is that, what was that? I heard a Discord sound. But anyway, so my personal conspiracy theory is, you know how all game companies were having layoffs over the last 2-3 years, and how like the only game company that has been hiring all of those laid off game developers was CIG. And a lot of those developers actually got hired by CIG, and actually CIG scooped up a lot of Ubisoft developers. And when they first announced contested zones, I think it was Paul Shelley pointed out that contested zones very much conceptually look like Dark Zones or whatever from Division. So I think us, and we're kind of in general seeing more MMO-oriented features like frequent events, that kind of stuff, and sort of cosmetic items. We're seeing more of that over the last 2-3 years. So my theory is that now that staff from other MMO companies are moving into CIG, they're sort of pushing that general MMO agenda. So that's how we got contested zones, that's how we get all the new cosmetic items, all of the new events, and that's why some of this stuff does not feel like Star Citizen. Because for me, thematically, like, contested zones are great. It's fun, but thematically it doesn't fit into Star Citizen. But it's fun. So, is that really bad? Is probably not. Is it true? Possibly. Yeah, so that's my conspiracy theory that I cannot explain, and I would really need to like sit in on a bunch of CIG meetings to figure out if it's true or not. Anyway, so yeah, that was mine. Moving on, let's actually do. Hold on, I have a list. So, Chris Roberts is secretly developing another game. Yes, it's called Squadron 42. But they're not really like secretly developing that. So I guess I looked into this one because I thought it was a little weird. So apparently there are a bunch of backers of Star Citizen who think that Chris Roberts and CIG are sort of secretly working on like the actual Star Citizen, like what we are playing is not actually Star Citizen. It's just like the fake Star Citizen that they're giving us while they're developing the actual Star Citizen, if that makes sense. And I mean, cool, but why? You know, I don't think there's like anything pointing to this. Like, if I were to like squint very hard and like look for evidence, I guess it would be, you know, we raised $700 million and we don't have much of a game to show for it, because nothing cost that much money. So where's all that money going would be my question. But on the other hand, you know, I imagine the development of Squadron 42 is pretty expensive because they have a lot of, you know, A-list actors in there, like Mark Hamill. Like, I don't know, like, chat, tell me how much do you think it costs to get Mark Hamill on set to do the recordings for Squadron? Like, give me your guesses, because that's gonna be a lot of money. Like I know Chris Roberts and Mark Hamill know each other from like before. 300K, yeah, you know, 300K is like 300K an hour maybe. Hey, Nylan, how are you doing? So and they have all the others. They have Mark Hamill, Gillian Anderson. They have Mark Strong, Henry Cavill. Like, it's gotta be expensive as heck to get all of these people on set. So I guess that's where the money is going, at least for Squadron. Oh, I'm glad to hear that, Nylan. So yeah, I guess that's, yeah, exactly. And it's got to be expensive, right? So it's so much for that conspiracy theory, at least for me. Now I do have to like go with the good old Star Citizen is a scam. And that's kind of like a very common theory. Like, not just, this is kind of the weird part, like not just the critics of Star Citizen say Star Citizen is a scam, but you also have like backers who have invested thousands of dollars saying it's a scam. So yeah, it's a scam. Nobody plays Star Citizen. There's definitely not a ongoing resource shortage in Stanton because people are playing an event, which I'm gonna make a segue into the Supply or Die event when I finish this one. So, you know what? Fair. You know, Star Citizen has been in development for what, 12 years now officially. They have raised countless millions of dollars. There is ship concepts that cost hundreds or thousands of dollars. Fair. Looks a bit scammy, not gonna lie. But I feel like there is my two main reasons why I don't think Star Citizen is a scam. Number one, there is like a lot of content actually going on. Like there's a lot to do in Star Citizen. There's a lot of stuff that was delivered over those last 12 years, or well, over the last like 7 years that I have played Star Citizen. And two, if Star Citizen was a scam, then everybody at CAG would have to be in on it, unless it's like CAG leadership deliberately, you know, not telling this to the devs, and they're just kind of like sucking away all the money somewhere. But either way, you know, a lot of people would have to be in on it, and like someone would snitch, someone would blow the whistle on this. That's like my, all the large orglies are in on it too, right? Yeah, we're all in on it, including me. We're everybody director and above. Yeah, everybody director and above is in on it. So yeah, that's kind of like my main reason that, you know, like so many people would have to be in on this. Someone would talk, and you would have like people who quit or people who got fired from Star Citizen talking, because like every company, no matter how positive the outlook and how motivated everybody's, there is going to be that one guy who gets fired and gets disgruntled and blows the whistle on something. Every big company has this, every single one. So basically, so NDAs are actually a bit complicated. So if you become a whistleblower, they can't prosecute you based on your NDA. So, I mean, yeah, they can like go after you legally, but they, if they are doing something illegal, that supersedes your NDA essentially, or at least, okay, caveat, that's what my NDA says at my work, that if I catch them doing something illegal, I can blow the whistle on it, and they're not going to prosecute me for it, or they are not able to. And I'm assuming that all NDAs or most NDAs work that way. Whether that's true, you would have to ask someone at CAG. I wouldn't know. I just know that my NDA has that clause in it. That, you know. Nylon, cheers. I got some. It's gunpowder. So I guess that's green tea, so that counts as caffeine, I think. So cheers. But yeah, so that's what my NDA says. So I would say, yeah, they can blow the whistle. And the other thing is, if you become a whistleblower, you don't necessarily have to reveal your identity. Like you go to like a news organization, or you go to some governing body or some enforcing body, they don't have to reveal your identity. They just say, yep, we got this evidence from a confidential source. And, you know, if the defendant figures out that it was you, well, too bad. But I still think they can't prosecute you based on it. Like, they say that you broke the NDA. At least I don't think so. But I am not a lawyer. Obligatory, I am not a lawyer. I am a software developer who has a 30-page NDA for his job. So why is my NDA so long? I have no idea. I have read the whole thing, and I have no idea why it was necessary to make it that long. But there's just kind of like lots of clauses on like, if this, and this, but not this happens, then this. It's like a whole thing. Because yeah, corporations, man. Anyway, so that's why I don't think CIG and Star Citizen are a scam. So, so obviously the feature creep and never-ending development conspiracy theory. It's not a conspiracy theory. It's sort of true. I mean, like I yes, there is feature creep. No, Horizon. So, okay, Horizon says, I thought when you said you were talking about conspiracy theories, you'd be talking about how some people believe that ice spawns further away from Pyro stars, which is completely false. Yeah, no, not that kind, unfortunately. But if we were to talk about like resource distribution in Star Citizen, that's like a whole separate stream. That's a whole separate video, and I actually talked about this a bunch of times about how Star Citizen does resource distribution in like, you know, minables and salvage and all that stuff, where it makes no sense. It's like, oh, there is no iron at Hurston, just no iron in this entire area at all. And Nyland, you're correct. Feature creep is a thing, but it's more of a it's more of a depth creep, because they're just sort of layering upon the original features, and I don't think they actually ever added something completely like extra new. I think engineering was also planned. The only thing that was kind of added, let's say, is like server meshing, PES, you know, technology stuff that sort of emerged out of development, and I don't really count that as feature creep. Now, is Star Citizen ever going to be finished? No, obviously not. They're going to continue to release content and updates and fixes well into, you know, the full release sometime in the future, because like, yeah, 1.0 is going to happen, but that's not it. There are still, you know, 100 something star systems that need to be added. There's no exploration in 1.0. There's no science gameplay. So, and we actually had a video on that, like on exploration and science, like in November, I think. It's called The Future of Exploration. That was a good video. And yeah, so now, really, cat, we're recording here. Yeah, my cat found her ball with a jingle bell on it. Ignored it for weeks, but now she found it. Allie. Thank you kindly. Yes. Yes. Anyway, so all right. Supply or die event. Starving for. Nyland, Nyland, you probably don't know this. I got a second cat. Like a month ago. So I now have two. And one is sleeping in her basket over there, and the other one is trying to murder a ball right there on the floor. And I hold on, I will show you cat number 2. Come here, cat. Ow. Look at this. This is cat number 2. Her name is Alaska. And she's very spicy. Ow. Ow. Yes. She does not like being held, but she's a cutie. She likes attention. Like, she like comes to you and wants her to pet her, but then she bites you when you pet her too much. She wants exactly 1.7 pets, and that's all she wants. Not more, not less. Great cat though. Conspiracy. There are no cats. No, there are no cats. It's all CGI. The hissing, it's actually me with some filters. So yeah, but yeah, supply or die event. I like the idea. I like that you can do it in Pyro and in Stanton. like completely separately. There's like that supply part where you can just do it only in Stanton. But what I don't like is that there is physically not enough resources in the system for the event to run for more than an hour. Like there is, depending on which source you ask, there is 20 to 40,000 SCU of copper and 20 to 40,000 SCU of corundum in all of Star Citizen at any point. Or it's like 20 to 40 per location. So like maybe like, you know, for it's like, let's say like 100,000 each for the entirety of Star Citizen. And this sort of pool of copper and corundum was full Friday afternoon. Because why would you trade copper and corundum? Like the profit margin is like half a credit. So this pool was empty like 2 hours after event start. And now it's just like lines of people at the terminals waiting for hours. And every once in a while you will see someone who is like AFK botting and blocking the terminals all day, which is insane. On one hand, nice way to create a very interesting trading event. On the other hand, probably could have increased production of this, because this is where like Quantum and Quanta would kick in. Original jump down. Yeah, you know, I like the feeling of it with the Detrine or whatever, where it's like outposts. But with the copper and corundum, like I feel like they should have increased the output, like the regeneration, at least a little bit, because ideally in the future, Quanta would sort of take over and start producing more copper and corundum. But this is obviously Quantum and Quanta don't exist yet, so it's not happening. So we're essentially creating a system-wide copper shortage, and there's nowhere to get it from at this point, in a trading sense. So me being the smartass that I am, I tried to mine it today. And you know, I went on Regolith, because they have this survey core now, and I don't know, Nyland, if you remember my old mining spreadsheets, where I took records of what ores were found, and I had like percentage of spawn rates. So Regolith is now doing that as a part of the website. It's called regolith.co, I think. Let me post the link. I have spoken to the guy who makes these. He's a really cool guy, Ray. So they are doing like, regolith.rocks. Yeah, so I looked there on like where I can find copper and corundum. And there were actually a bunch of locations. It's two very common ores. And I remember that when I would like actively mine, this is all I would find. But, Murphy's Law of mining, you're never going to find what you're looking for. So I mined for like 2 hours. I did like 5 or 6 refinery runs in a prospector. I mined exactly 4 SCU of corundum and like 12 SCU of copper. And like 1 million credits worth of gold, Terranite, and everything else. And we're like, oh yeah, let's go look for copper. It's super common. I'm gonna like find like a dozen rocks with copper, gold, Terranite, Bexlite, gold. Well, I don't know anything more SEO. What I think I'm gonna do is tomorrow I have a day off, so I'm gonna log in the morning, and I'm gonna try to go to Magnus Gateway and buy some, just to see if it works. I'm kind of curious, because like people are managing to buy it. I think I'm just gonna like do it during a less crowded time. Like I was playing today like 2 hours ago, so no, not at Magnus. I think they have it as the place. That's true. That's the place with both. And you know what, Niall, maybe you are right. Maybe I need to go. Maybe I need to go somewhere where they only have one. That's actually a good idea, Niall. Thank you. And Horizon, I think they're experimenting with how much demand the entire player base will have on a single commodity with the event. That's actually a good point. I think they already have that data, though. I think they already have that information. So, yeah, I think they already have that. So I don't think that's what it is, because when we had the blockade one. I was doing Beijing for Corundum and Seraphim. Oh yeah, that's true. They have them for, they had like copper and Corundum for Hull Sea trading. That's a good point. And I am actually near Seraphim. Thank you, Horizon. So I might actually have to like take the Karak for this one. Been a while since I took out the Karak. Anyway, so I think they already have that information, but maybe you're right. So conspiracy. Last sneak peek is Levski Nix. You mean the one that was posted today with like the catwalks and stuff? So I'm hearing a lot of people say is the Ironclad, because it does kind of have that Drake aesthetic to it in the picture, and I think it could be the Ironclad, or I'm thinking it's gonna be the Area 18 instanced underground or whatever. But it could be Levski. Now that you mention it, I'm just gonna like look at the picture again real quick. Let's see, where is Star Citizen? Yeah, you're right. It looks too clean. Well, it looks too clean for Levski too, and it looks too big for the Ironclad as well. Yeah, let me show you. Let me just save image and image. Okay, and yeah, bear with me. OBS is being a pain in my butt at the moment. Where did that file go? Nobody knows. There we go. There we go. So this is the sneak peek that they posted today. So I think it's too big to be the Ironclad, because it kind of looks like, you know, multiple floors, and the Ironclad is like mostly empty. I think it could be either Area 18, or I'm thinking it's going to be like a new area for distribution centers, because it kind of has that distribution center aesthetic. Like the railings look similar, and they also have like the big pipes in there. And also there's like crates, and you have similar crates and terminals going on like in distribution centers. That's what I'm thinking. And you can kind of see that there's supposed to be a bottom level, right? Because you see like here's a white box bit, and you can kind of see the empty space. So that's what I'm thinking, like distribution center or some kind of a new area. Maybe like a new contested zone. Like maybe they're gonna add like contested zones to Stanton. Yeah, I think it's a missing bottom there, because you can kind of see like, let me like expand this a little bit. So you can kind of see like a square or like a cube here. So that's what I'm thinking, you know. It could also be a Levski sneak peek. But I think it's too clean for Levski. Like personally, I think it's too clean for Levski. So I'm thinking, you know, most likely like a new distribution center feature, or maybe like a contested zone in Stanton, because I believe they said they would put contested zones into Stanton at some point. So maybe this could be that. I don't know. So, well, yeah. Anyway, so much for that. So, but yeah, I think it's a location, not a ship, unless it's like a. Couldn't even be like the Kraken. It's too big for the Kraken too. So, I don't know. I say contested zone or distribution center. So yeah. Anyway. Oh, Nyland, while I have you. So I don't know if you're going to be able to see this, but look at this. That's my first ever Warhammer miniature. It's a Skitarii Scout. Skitarii Ranger. And he's packaged this way because I'm giving him to someone. So... Yeah, so there is your show off of Warhammer Mini, but I can show you more. So I got a couple things in the mail this week. So I got my Year 3 miniature. I got the Inquisitor. Because I have had Warhammer Plus for a long time now. But I figured, you know, if I'm already getting stuff from like the official Warhammer store, I also got Eisenhorn, but they don't have a branded box for him anymore because I'm reading the Eisenhorn books, and I'm like, I gotta have like I have to have Eisenhorn in my display case. And finally, my favorite prankster in the Warhammer 40k universe, good old Trazyn the Infinite. Because I don't know if I told you guys, I read The Infinite and the Divine, the book about Trazyn the Infinite and Orican the Diviner, and how they basically had a beef for like 100,000 years. So I'm like, I have to get this guy just for the display case. Also, apparently you can play him with Necron, with like Necron armies, and I did buy a Necron Combat Patrol a while ago. The only problem with these, or not a problem, more like a disadvantage, is that both Trazyn and Eisenhorn, they're like the... Come on, focus. It's like the old Citadel resin cast. So this is going to be a lot of filing to get it into a workable shape. But I'm very excited about it. I am very, very excited about it. Also, I finally got my hands on the new edition Kill Team starter set. So like the Plague Marines and Primaris Kill Team, which I'm very, very excited about. I'm going to paint them like each one chapter. Yeah, anyway. And yes, child with adult money. Good for me. My bank would disagree with you. And actually, the fun part is that I don't think I ever explained this, and it's kind of a tangent, but... So, here in Czech Republic, some jobs, like if you're working a regular, you know, salaried contract as an employee, you tend to get two things besides your salary. You get meal vouchers, which is, I think it's a socialism thing, where every factory would have their own mess hall, and you would get like a ticket to get a meal in the mess hall. But now some companies don't have that, obviously. So they give you little papers. It's like maybe this big, and it's worth 100 funny Czech money. Usually, they have some that are worth more, and you can use this to pay for lunch at a restaurant, or you can use this to like buy food at the grocery store. And the fun part is that for the longest time, actually, like when I started working 5 or 6 years ago, or actually 7 years ago. Oh my God, I am old. You could actually get lunch for one of these for 100 funny Czech money. Now it's usually like 130 to 180, depending on where you go, at least where I live. Now, some companies are moving away from this. And this is kind of like a segue into Czech labor lore. Some companies are moving away from this. So now you can actually get like a little credit card that's, for all intents and purposes, it is a credit card, but it only has like the meal money on it. I know how that sounds, but and I would show you one, but I don't have one on hand because I don't have one. Or they can actually pay your sort of the meal money into your salary, because the way this meal voucher thing works is that half the price you pay, half the price the employer pays. So you would pay like for half of the meal vouchers yourself anyway. So if you get 2,000 funny check money of meal vouchers at a month, 1,000 of those funny check money is taken from you. But some employers are allowed, or actually all of them are allowed, and some do it where they just like pay it into your salary, which is great. And the second thing is, and apparently not everybody gets this, apparently, it's called benefit points. And it varies depending on job, how many you get per month. I get 600. And these are 1-to-1, 1 point equals 1 funny check money. And I call it funny check money because they refuse to get euro. And it is grinding my gears, even though I've lived here for so many years. And what you can use this for is like recreation. So you can pay for like going into the pool or going into the gym or, you know, getting a massage, that kind of stuff. Or, you know, get glasses. For example, someone told me that you can like pay for glasses with this. So a couple months ago, and this is where we get to why I'm not actually spending money on Warhammer. A couple months ago, the game store where I get my Warhammer stuff and my board games started accepting these benefit points. And I never spent them. Before this, I never spent them on anything because I just don't. There's nothing it can offer me where I can spend that many points on this. Like what I would do before that, I would put it into a hotel or something and pay for a hotel with it when I was going somewhere. But now my favorite game store accepts these. And it has opened a whole new world of possibilities for me because I'm essentially getting Warhammer for free now. That's it. That's how I am not spending any actual money on Warhammer because I get these points anyway and they're not taken out of my salary because my employer has to give these to me apparently. So that's the whole thing. The only limitation is that yes, exactly, it's girl math, but with Warhammer. So the only limitation with these is that the game store has a fairly limited selection of stuff because Czech Republic is obviously not a prime market for Warhammer. I mean, there is like a lot of Warhammer being played and painted and whatever, but it's, you know, not exactly like Games Workshop is not making millions here. So there is only one distributor and they only get so much stuff and they just kind of like distribute it among the couple stores that sell Warhammer around here. And it's usually not much. So basically, I couldn't get the Kill Team starter set like since it came out because it just wasn't. And I had like a Watchdog set on every website that sells Warhammer or every store that sells Warhammer in this country. And I got all 4 emails at once. They're like, oh, we just stocked this. And I clicked order so fast. Like I almost spilled my tea everywhere. But anyway, so the selection is kind of like you can usually find stuff you want, but it's not like, you know, walking into a Warhammer store and actually like choosing. For that, I have to go to Vienna or Hamburg or Berlin, and I very much don't like going to most of those places. Like the 2 Games Workshop stores in Vienna are pretty small, and the one in Hamburg is tiny, but they usually have the stuff that I want. Anyway, but the local store has all the paints and all the accessories and whatever you might want, so that's good enough for me because I mostly just buy paints because I have a lot of stuff that needs to be painted. So, and I'm trying to learn how to make terrain with the 3D printer, so I'm going to be painting a lot of that. Anyways, that was a very long... I guess it's a Warhammer podcast now. Sorry, guys. That could be pretty fun, though. Just doing like a Warhammer podcast. It's not that I'm like very knowledgeable about Warhammer, but still would be fun. Anyway, moving on. Next conspiracy theory about Star Citizen. And this is the one where ChatGPT went. And I was like, what? So Star Citizen is a mod. Like, again, Star Citizen is a money laundering scheme. And I was like, what? How? This is... For context, my job requires me to take a anti-money laundering training every 6 months. and sorry. And this training consists of pretty much 2 hours of someone explaining to me step by step how to launder money. So, you know, the number one thing is exactly what Nylan just said. It needs to be a cash business, because it's way easier that way. And the reason we take money laundering training is not because we ourselves would be doing money laundering, but our clients could be doing money laundering, and we need to be able to recognize that our clients are doing money laundering so we can report it to the authorities. Anyway, so, and it literally says, like, most money laundering needs to have some kind of a cash business involved. And I don't think there is any aspect of Star Citizen that is cash-based. I don't even know if they were taking cash at the merch stand at CitizenCon. Like, I didn't really look at how people were paying, because I just kind of like looked and saw what they like had in the display, and I was like, I don't really want to like stand in a line for 4 hours for this, where I'm like, might not even get it. So you see how, like, how would this work? Like, how would Star Citizen be a money laundering scheme? Because like all the transactions going into Star Citizen are electronic. So like, sure, I guess someone could be doing money laundering through Star Citizen, exactly through the gray market. But oh yeah, Bitcoin, yeah. If Star Citizen ever got into crypto or anything, that would be the end. But yeah, I think, you know, the only way is through the gray market. But even then, you know, how are you laundering money through the gray market? Because it's still all electronic. And like, I don't know, like, I need to give someone money, but I can't give them money, so I give them like account with ships on it that they, I guess, can sell afterwards. I don't know. I feel like there are easier ways to launder money, like literally getting a laundromat, and you know, laundering, you know, a cash business. So yeah, I just feel like it's like way too convoluted, and like, why? I would rather know like where, like, and I'm kind of like among other, like, there's a bunch of people who are waiting for the Cloud Imperium Games financials, because I would, like, they raised a whole lot of money last year, and I would like to know where that money went, because I highly doubt CAG is going to be declaring that as profit, because that would be, ooh, the IRS would be very hungry for that profit. Like, I guess. Then again, I guess, you know, CAG is a UK company, so that would be HMRC being hungry for their profit. Hey. Oh, true. Yeah, you could pay for some extra jobs. True, and, you know, launder money that way, but that's very easily discoverable. Like, sure, unless someone is looking, they're not gonna find it. But I would imagine CAG gets audited pretty frequently, sort of just from an external point of view, just because they're a pretty massive company, but don't really have, you know, the amount of pull of like Raytheon or Lockheed Martin, where nobody, like, So they have they have a finance report, but they also have to release their financials, and it usually takes a couple months for those to become public. And I read the 2020, 2021, and 2022 financials, and there is nothing weird going on. There is like regular financials for a company of 1,000 employees, or at least from my point of view. I'm not an accountant. I'm a software developer who likes spreadsheets. That's so there's nothing weird going on with CAG financials. I'm just kind of curious to see what they did with all the money. Obviously, they could just say they paid all that profit for the intellectual property of Star Citizen and that way avoid paying income tax on it as profit. I don't know, but that's still, I don't think anything weird is going on in there. Ooh, CitizenCon not gonna happen this year. So, Pacey, why do you think like that's an interesting one? Why do you think there's not going to be a CitizenCon this year? Besides that, I would expect them to announce it around now, I think. Because it's not the first time I'm hearing that no CitizenCon this year, but I feel like not not gonna happen. You know, it's like they had a good run last year. It was a good CitizenCon, and the only reason why I would think they would not have a CitizenCon this year is that there is no venue. So, oh yeah, that's true. They delayed the announcement. You're right. Uh, yeah. Well, I think the only reason they would delay the announcement or just cancel CitizenCon or just do like an online CitizenCon, because I think if they were not doing like an actual like event, they would still do it online like they did during COVID. But I think it would be a problem with the venue, which I believe this year would be LA or Austin, more likely Austin. And I am told that the Austin venue was pretty good, but they might just like not have a reservation for it. Uh, they could do Frankfurt, but they haven't done like a Frankfurt CitizenCon in forever, because there's a studio in Frankfurt for CIG. Uh, I also heard Montreal because they have the new studio there, but I feel like that's not really an option. So I'm kind of waiting for the LA or Austin announcement. Uh, would be interesting. I think it would be interesting to have a sort of Asia CitizenCon, because I know Chris Roberts went to the Shanghai and Singapore Bar Citizens, because there's quite a substantial community and they have a lot of companies in China who are trying to manufacture models for Star Citizen and trying to get a license for that. So they're trying to, so they're trying to like snuggle up to CAG. So that could be interesting. I think that would be a logistical issue because they would have to get a lot of stuff and a lot of people into China, which might be problematic given the current geopolitical status. But again, that's just me. So could be. So yeah, we will see. I wouldn't mind having an online CitizenCon because let's be honest, I don't think they're going to have a whole lot to show off at CitizenCon if they are going to do a CitizenCon. I don't think there's going to be a whole lot of new development going on in a way where they can show it off in a 2-day event, and they at this point have to do a 2-day event because all the previous ones, or like the two latest ones, were 2-day events. So I think the more reasonable thing to do would be to either like skip it altogether and take the flack for skipping it, or maybe just do like an online CitizenCon again, where like I think it was pretty good. Like I actually enjoyed the online CitizenCon because it was all very much served at a good time for everyone. I think I caught all of it, besides like the last 2 hours. So I don't think it would be like that bad of an idea, in my opinion. But again, they might just be delayed because of like venue issues and stuff. Uh, because I know they had some issues with the LA venue for the last LA Citizen Con, but I'm not sure what specifically that was. But yeah, we'll see. And I mean, either way, if it's LA or Austin, I'm not gonna go. That's just financially not gonna happen. That's, I mean, just the flight ticket is like half my salary, so yeah, that's not gonna happen. It's like, no. Anyway, so I think that's all the conspiracy theories I had. Like, weirdly enough, not a whole lot of conspiracy theories about Star Citizen. There's just kind of like rumors and all this stuff going on. Nothing like concrete, you know. I mean, there's like some people thinking Chris Roberts is gonna leave Star Citizen before it's finished, but I don't think that's gonna happen, because that's like, Star Citizen is Chris Roberts's, dream game. So unless like shareholders force him out, that's not gonna happen. So unless they like force him out, that's not gonna happen. And I think, because I read somewhere that actually Chris Roberts sold the IP for Star Citizen to CAG for some amount of money. I heard anywhere between 1 to 5 million. So I guarantee you that somewhere in that deal says you can't boot Chris Roberts off of this project. Like, Chris Roberts is always going to be at CAG in some capacity. That's like, I guarantee you it was in that agreement. I guarantee it. So yeah, other than that, it's mostly just like rumors and people being upset with CAG over certain things, which is fair. I mean, they have not been doing the best, at least in the eyes of the backers, and lots of stuff is getting pushed, and lots of stuff is not up to everybody's standards. But overall, I think we're doing pretty well. Yeah, that will be all for today. To remind you of all the housekeeping stuff. Feedback survey is still out, so go fill that out if you haven't already. I'm going to pick 5 people who are going to get a special merch item, and everybody gets a thank you email from me. I think I went through everybody who submitted so far. 2, screenshot contest is going on until tomorrow, so go get your adventure screenshots in, and one of you is going to win a Hornet or Super Hornet with a Heartseeker kit. With LTI from CAG, provided to me by CAG, and right, and the Q&A. Don't forget to submit your questions for the Q&A. I would like to do make that video in the next couple of weeks. I am very interested in the format because I was sort of digging around, and the Q&A format is pretty popular. A, and B, there is like, I feel like if I can do it in a format of how people like read Reddit threads, like the Reddit stories stuff, that could be pretty engaging, or not engaging, but like people would listen to it in the background while they're working, which would be very nice. And 2 more things, sort of 2 announcements at the end of the show. Number 1, website is like my actual website, because I had a website. I just haven't really done anything with it since I got the domain. So my website is being worked on, no deadline on it. We're still figuring out a lot of things on how to do it and how to get it running. So there's going to be a new website with some cool features, and I'm looking to maybe run the Q&A submissions and contests through that, or instead of Google Forms, but I need to look into that. And 2, I am going to be launching a new show in the next month or so, based on feedback from people. Working title is Find Your Org, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to interview organization leaders about their organization and how they play Star Citizen. I am obviously going to start at home with Atlas Defense Industries, and then I will see. I am very much open to, say, if you are in an org or if you're an org leader and you are listening to this, and you would like to be featured, I accept orgs of every size within reason. I think there's going to be like a cap on some organizations. I don't know. I think I'm just going to like be willing to talk to anyone at the start and then get picky if it gets too much. I don't know, honestly. But yeah, if you're an org leader or an org member and you would like to see your organization featured, do reach out to me on Discord or with my business email, or really anywhere you can reach me, and we will get you scheduled whenever I actually get to start working on this, because scheduling is an ongoing problem in my life, as we all know. So we're gonna have to work on it. But I would like to have the first episode out in the next month, which largely depends on when people get back to me on some things. But yeah, I would like to get that done. So it's gonna be a video on YouTube with some B-roll from the organization that I'm interviewing, and it's gonna go out as a separate podcast on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. And yeah, that will be all for today. Thank you all for watching. Thank you all for joining me on the Comm Relay. The Comm Relay podcast is streamed live on Twitch every Sunday at 7 p.m. Central European Time, and it is then uploaded on YouTube, on Spotify, and on Apple Podcasts as a podcast. If you would like to join me on the Comm Relay, all you have to do is be on the Armory Discord server at the time of streaming and be in the waiting room channel, and I will come pull you in. With that being said, that's all for today. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. Fly safe, and I will see you in the verse. Good night.